what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Garden. I'm your host, Tara Balzana, and today we have a very special guest. This is one of my best friends. We lived together all throughout college, and I am just very excited that she's here and that y'all get to kind of meet her in a way. And I'm excited for what she has to say about these topics, and just the subject in general. So, without further ado, this is Molly Odell.
Hi.
Welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
So, if you would like to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, so Taryn mentioned we lived together for my first 3 years of college, and then she was mean and left me and graduated early cuz she's a genius. Um but yeah, and we like randomly found each other on Instagram right before our freshman year, and then we were like, yeah, this works. We get along well.
Mm-hmm.
And we found out we lived like an hour away from each other, which was crazy. And then we just really operated well. We always joked that we were like an old married couple because we just like understood how the other one worked.
We
And
still are, like, even whenever we see each other again, even if it's been like months, we just like fall right back into like, and it's just
it's natural.
that groove is just so natural for us.
Yeah. But yeah, and so we lived together, and she has just seen so many eras of my life, honestly, and we've just seen that for each other too. But yeah, and so now I graduated a year after Taryn, not that that really matters, but and then now I am a teacher. Um I don't know what else I do. I'm a ballet dancer as of recently. Not really. I take a fun ballet class. I am a dog mom, if you will. I don't know. I don't know what else to share.
Do
But
you have
yeah.
any family?
Yes. I live with my other really good friend from college. And so that's like my current situation. And that's really fun, and she's great. We love Brittany. And then my parents live really close, and my older brother and his wife and their son live really close, which is really fun. And then my dear sweet boyfriend Alex lives about 10 minutes away cuz he's still in college. That's really fun. So, yeah, pretty much all my people are, well, not all my people, obviously,
Right.
but my family people are all pretty close, which is really nice. So,
That's awesome. So, something that I like to ask all my guests, given that this is the garden, is what is an area that the Lord is leading you to grow in recently?
okay. So this is kind of, I'll also talk about this later or whenever we get to the relationships part of it, but um and this is kind of what we were talking about last night. I probably in the summertime just realized that I was unintentionally idolizing like the concept of marriage
Mm-hmm.
and just being married. And I have a ton of friends that are engaged or getting married or, are really close to that time. And I am so excited for those people.
Mm.
And I really do love that for them. And I think I just found a lot of the way that I felt, or the way that my heart felt, was that I just wanted to also be in that same time period. And that was really hard to like realize. And so just the past few months, I feel like God and I have had a lot of conversations about that, and about, I know that that's not, and I don't want to talk too much about it because we're going to like talk about it later, but I just know that that's not my sole purpose on
Mm-hmm.
earth. And so I think just doing a lot of checking myself and kind of doing a mental check of where I am with that, and kind of holding myself accountable to that too, during a time that I get to be really excited for a lot of my friends,
Yeah.
but also keeping myself in check with that.
Right.
So,
Which I'm very familiar with because I've been there too.
yeah.
And sometimes I still also have to like, okay, check myself. Where is this actually coming from, and
Right.
where's the root of this?
Yep.
So, as you guys know, we have been in a relationship series this month, and at the end of each month, we dive in with a special guest and we just do some practical application what the topic looks like in our lives. And so this is a really fun one because there's so many different avenues of relationships. So what we've actually decided to do is we're going to do a little part 1 and part 2 for you because there's so much to cover. And we want to make sure that you get all of it. We don't want to short you any of it. So, we're going to kind of divvy it up. Our stomachs have been going crazy today
All
for
day.
whatever reason. We've eaten, we've had liquids. I don't know what is going on, but they've been going ham. So, don't mind.
Sorry.
I don't think you'll hear any of the random noises, but if we just start laughing, that's why. It's because our stomachs are freaking out. So, where was I?
Part 1 and part 2.
Right. So we're gonna just kind of half it somewhere.
Sure.
And we'll do it'll be the last 2 weeks of this month. So this week and next will be our special guest episode. So this week we're gonna talk about um first I want to talk about our relationship with God because that is the foundation for all relationships.
Yes.
And if you want healthy relationships, then that's where you need to start. So share a little bit about your relationship with God. And
So I grew up in a family that attended church regularly. My dad was a minister in the church growing up. That was just a regular part of what our family did. I do feel like I had a very unique experience with church just because my dad worked for the church, and so not everybody necessarily has that same relationship with going to church or just being involved in faith and things like that. But it was modeled for me since as long as I can remember. Um, I know a lot of people that have grown up going to church feel like they don't really have a lot to share because they grew up going to church. Like, there wasn't this major life change that happened and then they came to faith from that.
right.
But I do think that everybody's story is significant. And so that's something that I've also come to terms with recently or just learned a lot about recently. But um I was probably in junior high age when I just realized that I just loved being near to God. And I think I didn't know that's what that was at the time. Um, but I just knew that I loved feeling his presence. And so I knew that there would be a time when I really had to decide that I truly believed that, or maybe I didn't, or just knew that it was my choice, not my parents' choice. And so probably around junior high age is when I decided that. And again, at the time, I don't think I understood obviously a lot of the depth that came with that decision. I don't think there really is any way to understand that when you really make that decision initially. But yeah, and then going into high school, I do think that my foundation of faith drove a lot of my decisions, but I don't believe that I was like consciously making choices, consciously, you know, cutting things out of my life that I felt weren't leading me in the right direction. Like I knew I was making good choices, but I didn't really know that that was like I wanted to do it because I wanted to serve God. Um and then honestly I probably lived my life that way for up until just a couple years ago, I would say. And by no means am I perfect about it now, obviously.
Yeah.
But I do think that just having a lot of conversations and being around people and seeing what that truly looks like as a young adult and as a young woman. But I think seeing what that really looks like from people my own age, because I had seen that in people older, and I'm like, man, I would love to be like that when I'm 70, which is obviously really easy to wish for, but felt like a lot of people my age that I knew, I like didn't have any great example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sounds really bad, but you know what I'm talking about. And so I just really surrounded myself with those kinds of people, and I just felt so convicted. Not because they were making me feel bad, but I just realized like, wow, this is what my life could be
Mhm.
if I make this conscious decision and if I sacrifice things in my life that I'm not wanting to sacrifice. And so I think kind of just since a couple years ago, I just feel like I've been more aware of my decisions and
Yeah.
the reason behind my decisions or what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. And I think that has just drawn me a lot closer. And obviously, there's plenty of days that we all struggle with different things. And I do find myself in those days. So please don't hear me say that I am killing it because I'm
Right.
not. But,
Yeah.
so I definitely think just over the past few years, I've challenged myself a lot more and felt a lot more growth, seen a lot more growth because I'm actually aware of what my
Mhm.
choices are.
Yeah.
So that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, there's definitely like a difference in it, and when you get closer with God and you want to like actually live your life like
mm,
for him and to honor him, you are a lot more conscious of your decisions and like,
mm-hmm,
okay, these are the things that I need to do if I want to honor him with my life. And so there's definitely like a kind of like a switch that flips
mm-hmm,
when your life kind of starts pivoting into this is not just for me. I'm not just doing this for me.
right.
Like there's a purpose that I was put here for and I want to fulfill that to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
Um but how has your relationship do you with God do you feel like um how do you feel like it's impacted your relationship with others?
So growing up, like in high school, I feel like I was so aware of the actions of everyone around me.
Mhm.
Like I was very anxious. I always thought people were like talking about me. I always thought, you know what I mean? Like I was just hyper aware of everyone around me. And a lot of the way I acted towards people came from that fear
Mhm.
that people were talking about me, or I didn't want to stand out too much, or I didn't want to, like be
Mhm.
out of the ordinary, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I think I just tried to be nice to people, but kind of hold them at like an arm's distance because I didn't want them to like know things about me that they could talk about, or does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But now, and maybe this is part of becoming a teacher, but like you just see the best in your kids
Mhm.
and you see what they can be. And I think a lot of that comes from like knowing that these kids in my classroom are children of God. And then now that translates into people I talk to every single day, or my friends, or even my family, or whatever. Because now I find myself looking for the best in people and like giving them the benefit of the doubt and having hope for those people.
Mhm.
And I am still, I mean, you're always aware of people around you, and especially the people you love, what they're feeling, what they're thinking.
Mhm.
But it's like now I don't act out of fear anymore, I feel like,
Mhm. Yeah.
and a lot more out of what can I do to serve this person, or again, not that I'm perfect at that every time,
Mhm.
but I do feel like that has really impacted just how I go about my everyday life,
Mhm.
involved with or like interacting with anybody. So,
I think that is such like a big part of it is whenever you are able to look at others with the lens that they are also children of God.
yeah.
It just completely changes your perspective. Also, whenever like you understand that you're a child of God and how loved you are and what that looks like, and then you can transfer that into how you look at others and perceive others and know that just as God loves you so incredibly much,
Mhm.
he also loves them.
Right.
And you're like, well, just as much as I don't deserve it, or they don't deserve it, I don't deserve it either. And so it just, it really helps to like, I don't know, change your perspective
Yeah.
to how you interact with others.
Yeah. And I think you also said, sorry, I'm pausing you,
No,
but
it's okay.
um I think it was in like your first episode from this month. You had mentioned that like the way that God loves is the example that
Mhm.
he sets for us to love
Mhm.
in general. And I think you were talking about it in context of like loving ourselves and like we are worthy of it because he proves that he thinks that we're worthy of it.
Yeah.
But I do think that's so true with what you were saying. Like, in the same way that he believes we are worthy of his love, he feels that about all of our
Right.
people that we interact with,
Right.
you know?
And we have no right to determine whether we think that they're worthy of it or not.
Right. As much as I want to.
Yeah. As much as you're like, oh, I don't want to love them. And God's like, yeah, but I love them.
Right.
And you're still called to love them.
Exactly.
Such like a heavy, not even heavy, but such like a relevant thing lately has been, where God calls us to love our neighbor. And it's like, who's your neighbor? Literally everyone,
Mm-hmm.
whether you want them to be or not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and it's hard because, like, so much of what we're taught today is don't give your time and energy to people that don't deserve it. And it's like,
Yes.
well, but
Yeah.
also my God did, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very counter cultural sometimes too,
Yeah.
which can be really hard.
Yeah. The life that we're called to live as Christians doesn't really line up with the life that society is living
Yeah.
currently. So switching gears a little bit into relationships with family, because I'm kind of going down the line of like the most like important ones.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously your relationship with God is first and foremost. That's your foundation for all relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And then your family, because your family is your family.
Yep.
And you're stuck with them whether
It's
you
who
want to
you're
be or
given.
not. And sometimes they're great and sometimes they're really complicated. And so we're going to just talk about family dynamics and kind of what that looks like. Um Literally so many things I want to cover with family. What's one of the biggest things that you've had to learn in your relationship with family?
I'm like, does any of my family listen to this? I don't know if they do. Okay, follow me.
Okay,
Where I'm going with this.
I'm there.
So, I think a lot of times with romantic relationships, I'm getting there. You're given advice that's like, you're two human beings coming together. Like it's their first time loving somebody or like, you're
Mhm.
both figuring it out. Well, I think the same is true with your family members because one of my favorite quotes is like, it's your parents' first time on earth as well. And it's like, your parents have no idea what they're doing. They've never been this age before. Like,
Mhm.
even if they have kids older than you or younger than you, it's like, they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, times still change. And so
Yes.
like parenting changes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're different from your siblings. And,
Yeah.
it's just different. And so I think one of just the biggest lessons is understanding that my family members are all humans. And I feel very blessed because my family is a family of believers and that is something that we all have in common. And I do feel like that has shaped a lot of the way that we love each other. But I also know that they're human beings and are going to make mistakes and
Yeah.
just in the same way that I am. And I also know I love my family like more than anything. And I guess not more than anything, but you know what I mean? And anytime I've ever hurt them, it's never been with like evil in my heart,
Yeah.
and it's always been, I thought I was doing the right thing or I
Mhm.
thought I was doing a good thing and it just was hurtful.
Right.
And so I have learned how to give that same kind of thought process or that same grace to them as well too,
Mhm.
because that's what I want them to give for me.
Yeah.
So
Do you have like a time specifically where God kind of taught you about forgiveness and or patience, which I think kind of go hand in hand, um, with your family?
I mean so many. Um so when I was younger, like in high school, I didn't have a curfew. My parents were not very strict. Um Not like I got invited to parties or anything, but
Right. Yeah.
my parents were not very strict and I was very grateful for that. At the time I feel like I thought they were, but now they were not at all.
Right.
Um, but one of the things that my parents always told me was like, if you are ever in a situation, you can blame it on us. And for some reason, when I was like 15 and 16, I was like, that's so annoying. Why would they tell me that? And it was like, I I don't know why I couldn't understand what they're, I guess just because I was a teenager. I don't
Mhm.
know. But I just never understood why they would say that. Because I was like, no, like I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. There's never gonna be a time I don't want to be in a situation. Like
Yeah.
you're like 15 and you want to be
Right.
cool and you want to be involved in stuff and whatever. And I don't even know if this is forgiveness, but maybe patience that they had with me. And I just found myself towards the end of high school and even in college, there were times that it was like, oh, actually, I can't go. My parents said I can't. And I found myself being so grateful for that. And never when I was 15 did I think that I was going to be grateful for that. But I just recognize how much my parents were willing to completely lay down their reputation
Mm.
with other 15-year-olds,
Mhm.
because that matters so much. But
Right.
it was like they were willing to be the bad guys
Mhm.
for me to be okay and for me to be safe and taken care of. And obviously now that I'm older and, our relationship has changed a lot, I just find myself being so grateful for that. Because even now I struggle with saying no to things that I like, no, I don't actually want to go hang out or,
Yeah.
but it's like, I wish I could just blame it on my parents.
Right.
And so that was kind of a surface level one. But I will say there were plenty of times that I did things or like just made stupid decisions. And again, when you're 15, you think you know better than anyone in
Mhm.
the world. And I just cannot fathom the patience that my parents had with me. And there are days that I feel shame from those kinds of things or regret or whatever. And I just think about how much more my parents love me
Mhm.
and how much more impactful their love for me was.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just is so meaningful, you
Mhm.
know?
I look at like, and me and you are both very fortunate to have amazing parents
Mm-hmm.
that loved us and invested in us and still do to this day. And I think about those that like don't have that, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I wish I could just like share my parents with you,
Right.
but unfortunately I can't. But I just like keep those people in mind where it's like sometimes in the moment where you do get like so frustrated with your parents about something, and you forget that like at the end of the day it's all coming from a good heart,
Yeah.
and they only ever want the best for you. And it's really hard to see that in the moment sometimes, but then you can also reflect on the fact that other people don't have anybody looking out for them. And if you don't have anybody looking out for you, I'm so sorry. But and I don't even like, I mean that like so genuinely, like, but at the end of the day, even if you don't have like a physical human looking out for you, God's looking out for you
Mm-hmm.
always. And he always has your best interest. Um but my parents were like, they would do the same thing. They were like, never had an issue with me like blaming it on them. They're
Right.
like, if you want to leave, like if you don't want to go, whatever. Like that's just say we won't
It's
let
our
you. Just
fault.
say we
Yeah.
yeah, my mom said no, sorry. And I also find myself now still wanting to say that. I'm like, my mom said no. Taryn,
You're
you're
23.
23. Yeah.
It's like you're an adult.
You're 23 years old. What do you mean your mom said no? I said what I said. Sorry, gotta
Can't help it.
go. Yeah.
My parents are still my parents.
Yeah. Can't. Like you live in your own house. Still can't. um but yeah, I still find myself, I'm like, can I blame it on them? Can I can I keep blaming it on them?
Right. Well, because like when you're 15, it's so embarrassing
Yes.
because you feel
My
like
mom said I can't.
you're like everyone else's parents are cool, and it's like they're
Right.
probably not actually.
Yeah.
And
No.
now I'm like, my parents are great,
Yeah. Parents are the best parents to ever exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think there are times where like we have to have patience with our parents as they navigate parenting. I mean,
mm-hmm.
parenting changes. And I remember growing up, my siblings would always be like, you literally get away with whatever you want. You get away with murder. And I'm like, okay, well, first off, I don't get away with murder. We're not even, that's not even on the table. Why would you even say
I'm
that?
not even trying.
Right, right. But second of all, like, times change. And the way you parented in one season is not me talking from a parent's point of view as
Right.
right, you know.
About your children.
Right. My imaginary children. But I've also like sat down and had these conversations with my parents.
Yeah.
And times just change. And so parenting doesn't look the same as it does for one as it does for the other. Like, and your kids are different.
Right.
And so I could not be further from any of my siblings. And so the parenting that I endured was so much different than the parenting they endured.
Right.
And apparently I got away with murder. But I also just didn't do anything. Like,
yeah.
I didn't, I was fine with being home by curfew. And usually I was home before curfew because I just like to be home. And I love hanging out with my parents. And I just didn't, not by no means was I perfect. And I made dumb decisions. But I also didn't want to like disappoint them, and I respected them. And so it was just, there's just so many areas where yes, you have to be patient with them, and they're also so incredibly patient with you. So incredibly patient with you. They're still so patient with me. I'll even come
Yeah.
home at night and I'm like, wow, I really do have the best parents because they're so patient with me.
They're so nice.
I now I don't even think about the fact of me being having to be patient with them as much as I'm like, they're so gracious to
Right.
me because I would not have been to myself in that time.
Yeah.
But there's times where it's like, oh my gosh, mom, I've already told you, or I don't know why you're worried about this, or whatever. And again, it's always coming from a good heart, and they just want the best for you, and they love you like
For sure.
you're their child. And we don't have children yet, so we don't fully understand that. But I know, I mean, you know how you feel about the kids that you teach and your
Yeah.
nephew, and I know how I feel about the kids that I babysit and my nieces and nephews. And so I know how much I love them, and I can only imagine how much our parents love us.
Right.
But it is also a kind of like a portrayal of how much God loves us as well. He is our heavenly Father, and so
Yeah.
you, we are His children, and it's the same concept. And even when you think of like, oh my gosh, I love them so much, it still doesn't even like compare to how
Yeah.
much He loves.
We were sorry,
That's
I'm
okay.
still interrupting you, but on my Wednesday or at my Wednesday night Bible class, we're last year we read through the book of Luke and everything and just did a Bible study over it. And we were talking about reading about like the crucifixion of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, I was like, honestly, it makes me emotional every time because my brother is almost 30, and like just that being really near the age of Jesus when he
Yeah.
was like doing his stuff and like when all of that
Yeah.
happened, and it was just like doing his stuff, doing his ministry, and just like that, all of that
Doing his
happened to him.
thing.
Yeah, like whatever, changing literally all of the world and
Right.
eternity.
Right.
Um,
Doing his stuff.
yeah, it's like it just hits me so much deeper because I love my brother so much, and that's another thing that I can talk about later. But it makes me so emotional because I have somebody that's so near and dear to my heart that I don't know, that in my mind I would just be heartbroken. I mean, I can't even imagine, you
Yeah.
know? And so then I think about that love that I have for my brother, like my sibling, who I've known my whole life. He lived a couple years without me. But then it's like, gosh, I can't even imagine how my parents would feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then even further than that, I'm like, yeah, but God did feel that pain. Like
Mm-hmm.
our Lord went through that suffering and experienced that pain of losing his only son and doing it with the purpose of saving
Mm-hmm.
us who were not even,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And so it just like what you were saying, the portrayal of it. And I'm like, yeah, and I have these emotions, and yet that is nothing compared
Right.
to the incredibly deep love that
Mm-hmm.
he shows for us daily.
Yeah.
So,
I think that something that's really interesting to like navigate as we get older is honoring our parents. Like it's biblical.
mm-hmm.
There's a promise attached to it. If you honor your parents, you'll have long life. Like it means a lot to God for you to honor your parents.
Yeah.
And so navigating what that looks like um when you are younger compared to an adult, what is that what does that look like for you?
Sorry. I do think it's definitely changed.
Mhm.
Obviously, like you said, from when you're younger, and I think a lot of it when you're younger is the obedience and
Right.
the things like that. And I do think there's a small aspect of that as you become an adult. But really, and my parents and I talk about this a lot. I have older parents for people are, I mean,
Me too. Yeah.
yeah, we're on the same page with that. But
Our parents had us a little later in life.
yeah, but nice. um, but my brother and I, not that it's the time for this, mom and dad, if you're listening, please don't freak out. This isn't happening anytime soon. But my brother and I have already stalked. We've already stalked. We've not done that. We've already started talking about what it could look like for if, you know, something were to happen and our parents need to move in with us, or one of our parents needs to move in with us, or what it looks like taking care of them in their old age. And I just think a lot of that is a lot of the way that we can honor our parents now is wanting to provide for them in whatever way that we can, which is so small compared to the ways that they've like provided for us.
Mhm.
But I just think a lot about how it could be really inconvenient. My brother and sister-in-law are about to have another child and they're moving houses, and again, not that this is happening anytime soon that my parents need us to
Yeah.
host them, but I do think about like they're going to have two kids. That's a lot to handle on its
Mhm.
own, and they both have really busy jobs, and I'm like, if, somebody, my mom were to move in with them, like I know that wouldn't be easy.
Mhm.
And yet my brother's like so selfless in that, and he's so just willing to do that because he knows that that's the role that he can play right now for her. And for me, it's like, I mean, I'm not married, I don't have any kids, so it's like if they were to move in with me, great, party every day.
Yeah.
But it's like I know that my role is to do whatever I can to take care of them
Mhm.
until it's their time to go home. And I think for a lot of people that is really inconvenient, or it's not the ideal situation, but it's like I know the lengths that my parents went through for me, what we were
Yeah.
just talking about, and what they had sacrificed for us. And if this is the smallest thing I can do to just show that I care for them and show that I love them, then like
Mhm.
that's what I'm going to do. And so I think about that just as my parents are getting older. But I also think both of my parents are really wise when it comes to friendships and
Mhm.
relationships. My mom is the kind of person where she has been friends with anyone she's ever met in her entire life
Yeah.
ever since she was like a little kid.
Literally my mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's my mom's an only child, so that makes sense. But she needed friends, I guess. But and so she just has a lot of wisdom
Mhm.
about friendship, and I think just caring about what she has to say. And I do turn to her for a lot of that advice. And I just respect the wisdom that she has, and I
Mhm.
respect the experiences that she's had. And she's had wonderful friends, she's had really hard friends, she's been a bad friend before, like it's just happened.
Mhm.
And so I think just knowing that your parents have so much wisdom that you just have yet to experience
Yeah.
is just another, and I don't want to say easy, but it's another maybe overlooked
Yeah.
way that you can show that kind of honor to them that we're
Right.
called to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's so it's such a good thing to remember is that they are older than you. Like a pretty good amount older than you.
Right.
And so they lived they've lived a lot more life than you. They've gone through a lot more scenarios and situations and trial and error and all the things. And so when they do give you advice, and it's coming from a place of, hey, I've been there. And it's so much easier to listen to someone when they've been where you've been.
Right.
Um, but even still, like, it takes us a while to grasp that they do know what they're talking about. Even if you're like, they literally have no idea. They don't even understand.
They don't get me.
They do. They do. And they've been there. And even if you choose not to follow their direction or like do it exactly how they advised, to still hear them out. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I know that you have been here before, and I know that you did used to struggle with this or whatever. Whatever the scenario is, just hearing them out and like listening
Mm-hmm.
and honoring them in the fact that you respect them and their wisdom and where they've come from and what they've gone through, and that it can be beneficial to you, as much as you might not want to admit it in the time. um, they probably,
They
have
know what's
some
going on.
advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I I have really like learned that, and I'm thankful that I've like really gotten a grasp on the fact that my parents do know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And I've also seen like my siblings not ask for advice from my parents when my parents have literally been in like the exact same situations
Right.
and not even going to them. And I've seen that be very like detrimental to them because they didn't seek a multitude of counsel. Like that is also biblical. Is to get wisdom and to
Yeah.
get advice and seek a biblical multitude of counsel. And my parents are my go-to multitude of counsel.
Right.
Like that is my go-to counsel. Aside from the Lord, I'm going to my parents.
Yeah.
But I've also seen where, like I said, where my siblings could have benefited from going to them about something and didn't. And I'm like, okay, I also want to learn from that and like
Right.
not find myself in the same situation. Um, even still, like, even with little things, I'm like, Dad, what do I say in this email? Like, how do I word
Business
this?
help.
My dad does this. I work with my dad, and so my dad helps me with this all the time, which is so like little, and they help me with a lot of big things too. But even this, like, just to show the magnitude to which I rely on my parents, is like, okay, well then I wrote the email by myself, but what should I put as the subject? And he was like, you just put update or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, oh. Like I
Thanks.
just like so many things that
Got it.
I overthink, and they're just like, it's not that big of a deal. But as simple and like little as that is and silly, um, it's still just like my parents are my best friends.
Yeah.
Literally go to them for everything, whether they want me to or not.
Like, please leave us alone for
Yeah.
5 seconds.
Yeah. We are shutting off our phones.
We're cutting off our communication for tonight.
But I also live right next door to my parents, so I'll just show up.
Right. That's so funny. I know. I think a lot about too. I feel like I'm straying from the topic, but it's fine. Now we're talking about our parents, and I just love them.
Yeah.
But oh, it was this. I was like, what is rubbing again? It was like vibrating. I was like, are you here? I was like, what's going on? My parents, I said earlier, live like 10 minutes away from me, and I usually try to go over there at least once a week for dinner, and then maybe see them a couple other times or whatever. Obviously, sometimes things get in the way and I can't, or whatever. But I always think about some of my best, like, true belly laughs come from with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just because for a long time I was like, my parents don't know me, they don't get me, all that stuff. And we actually have a joke in my family where one time I said, like, Nobody understands me except my Aunt Laurie because she's a younger sister who has an older brother and
Yeah.
whatever. I was really dramatic. Shocking. Um
Not you.
yeah. But so I just always thought that. But then now it's just so funny cuz I'm like when I know I need a good laugh, I know where I'm going. And
Yeah.
I know like just who I can count on for that. And on
Mhm.
top of just all of the other deeper emotional things, it's like I'm so grateful to have a family and have parents that I
Mhm.
can also just enjoy time with,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah, even when I'm like not needing advice or trying to like get through the details of life, I still am just like going up to hang out with my
yeah.
parents. I'm like, "What's up? What are we doing today,
Hey.
guys?"
Guess who's
Yeah.
here?
Honey, I'm home. um, but literally, and my parents are they're so funny. Um, and they do make me laugh a lot. As much as like my mom is a very she enjoys her little puns and
Mhm.
it's she was telling me one the other day and I can't even think of it. But I was like one of those ones where you just roll your eyes and you're like, okay, mom,
Got it.
got it. Yeah.
She's so
She was like,
cute.
it just makes me laugh. And I'm like, mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love you.
She's so cute. I love her.
And my dad is also hilarious. But
Mhm.
uh,
My dad and I are very similar, which is a terrible thing to admit on a podcast that's like going on the internet.
yeah, he literally this is the
Uh
version of having it in writing.
yeah, dang it. But my dad is just funny. We're both very hard-headed, both very stubborn, but then also we just know how to get under each other's skin so well. And so usually it's like now that my brother is married and they don't live in the house anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
But I go over there a lot and so it's usually just my parents and I. And so usually it turns out my dad and I arguing about something stupid and then my mom just sitting there being like, "Can you guys stop,
Oh my
please?" Like,
goodness.
can't you just picture that? But
Yes.
it's never like weird. I mean, if we had a true argument, it wouldn't be like
Yeah.
that. But it's just funny because my mom is just like caught in the middle of it all the time. And I'm like, this is good. This is good,
That's
healthy
funny.
family.
We gang up on my dad a lot. He'll probably be listening to this and be like, "I know." Like
That's what
not
I'm
fair.
saying.
Yeah. But it's just like he also takes it well and he dishes it
Yeah.
right back, so it's just fun. Um
An easy target.
right. But that's what happens with me and my niece. My parents adopted my niece and so we're literally like siblings, which we've always been like that my whole life. But we'll be arguing and it'll be the playful
Yeah.
arguing where it's not even that deep and my mom will be like, "Will you guys stop it? Will you be nice to each other?" We're like, "This is not even bad." And then I feel like it's the bad ones where my mom doesn't say anything. She's
Right.
like, "I'm going to sit this one out."
You're like, where are you?
This is
Come
where
on.
I need you.
We need a mediator.
Yeah,
Like,
but
hello.
the little ones, me and Bella will be like, "We were literally just joking." My mom's like, "That's enough. You need to be nice."
Be
And we're
kind
like,
to each other.
"Right."
My
I'm like,
mom says
"Okay."
that too.
She's like, "You guys are all each other has." I'm like, "We know." Like, it's just all fun and games.
That's
But
funny.
anyway, all that to say, ways that you can honor your parents.
Yeah.
It's just like spending time with them and just showing that like you appreciate them and what they have to say and the fact that they have lived a lot more life than you
Hmm.
and they have wisdom and you're probably going to benefit if you listen to them. But even if you don't take their advice, just showing like, hey, I do appreciate what you have to say. And like, cause they know you are an adult and you can
Right.
make your own decisions and you don't have to come to them. And they know that as well. Like you are old enough to make your own decisions. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're a teenager and please listen to your parents if you are a teenager. You're not old enough to make your own decisions. But even though you think you are. But anyway, as an adult, they they do know and they do respect the fact that you don't have to be coming to them and you are and it means a
Yeah.
lot to them even if you don't use their advice to just hey, I respect you enough to come to you in this situation to bring this to you to talk this through and see what you think I should do. And that is a big way um, in adulthood that you can honor them. It's just like showing that you appreciate them and what they have to say. So, as we are in adulthood and there's so many things of life and we get so busy, how do you navigate the busyness of life and still making sure that you have time for your family and like loving them well?
So one thing about my family is that my whole family is we like cannot sit still. And it's been that way my whole life. Like we're our weekends were always full of sports or traveling to see family. We never lived in the same place as my grandparents. So we would travel to go see them for holidays, like all that stuff. Our weeknights were filled with sports or church or whatever. And then even now, um my mom, like when they moved to Oklahoma, my mom got an all new job and like also babysits my nephew sometimes and
Mm-hmm.
also sometimes is a substitute and like
Mm-hmm.
just always stays busy. And my dad's job, he has to travel a lot. So my family is just on the move constantly. So we're very used to chaos, I guess, and just all being in different places. Um and so I think we are kind of accustomed to that, just knowing that like different people and different we have different moving parts in our family. Um but because of that, I think we have really learned to make the most of the time that we do get to spend together.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean my parents may be sitting down to watch Family Feud on like a Tuesday night and I may just like show up to hang out and yes, obviously sometimes we will all sit and watch Family Feud, but more likely than not, my dad will pause the TV and the three of us will sit there and they'll ask me about, how is this going in your life
Mm-hmm.
and how is this and how's school and how's this and this person and so on and so forth. And then I just, how did this happen? How was this event that happened for last weekend? Dad, how was your trip to this place? And
Yeah.
I just think making the most of whatever time
Yeah.
you're given is a huge aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you had mentioned earlier today, like you and your mom or you and Bella sometimes go and have like coffee dates and
Yeah.
stuff. And um, unfortunately, my family is so busy that like we don't always get around to doing that. But even like if I'm babysitting my nephew when my brother and sister in law come home, like they want me to stay for time afterwards, even when he's asleep, just so we can talk and
Mm-hmm.
just so we can catch up and just have that time that's like no one's in a rush to go anywhere. I want to know what's going on
Mm-hmm.
because I love you and I care about you. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just think making the most of that time
Yeah.
is one of the best ways because it's like, even if you plan time, if you're not using it well, then like what was the point?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I think about that a lot too.
I think also like yeah, we were saying this earlier today. Me and my mom and my niece have like scheduled individual coffee dates with each other.
Mhm.
And it's just like a standing thing every month and we just go on a little date, just like a little check-in, which I see them all every day anyway right now. But you can still just get so caught up in like life and what's going on and I work from home, so sometimes it's hard to separate work from family and I work with my dad and so sometimes all those things just like it's not really the easiest thing to separate work and family
Right.
when it's all together. And so making sure to like prioritize setting aside that time and investing, but also knowing that it doesn't always have to be like a coffee date. Like
Right.
sometimes you can just show up there and help with dinner or
Mhm.
um whatever they may be doing.
Yeah.
I don't even know. But um just like being okay with whatever you're doing in the time as well. Like it doesn't have to be sitting down and we're going to have a
Yeah.
sit down conversation. Like it can just be going to hang out with them even if they're already doing something or
Mhm.
um if someone has like my mom is a CASA volunteer, and so sometimes she has court dates, and sometimes I'll go with her to court just to like be able to chat in the car ride over there.
Yeah.
And then she goes into court and I can't go with her. And so like I'll go to the coffee shop or whatever, but it's literally just to like talk on the way there. And so like even just doing things like that, hey, or calling randomly and like, "Hey, I was just thinking of you, like what are you up to?"
Mhm.
I was babysitting my friend's kids the other day and I just called my mom and I was like, "Hey, like what are you doing?" And we only talked for like a few minutes, but just like letting them know that you're thinking of them, just checking in, even if you can't call right then and just texting, "Hey, I love you."
Mhm.
My mom is like so good about that, just randomly like texting you and be like,
Yeah.
"I love you, thinking of you, hope you have the best day."
Mhm.
And even little things like that just make a difference. And so I think you just have to like make it a point to prioritize the family. Like you know that your family is so important and you
Mhm.
know those relationships are so important. And at the end of the day, when you have no one else, you have your family.
Yeah.
And so investing in that relationship and prioritizing it is huge.
Yeah, I also think my dad is not a big feelings guy. If you knew him, that makes a lot of sense. But he does love to talk in general, just like about anything.
Mhm.
And another thing that my dad loves that I also love is Cece's Pizza. Don't know if you've ever been there.
Yeah.
Love that place. Um, but one time my roommate was out of town, Alex was busy. I just like didn't really have any plans and I was like, I'm kind of hungry for pizza and I was like, I wonder what my dad's doing. And I knew my mom was out of town or something and my dad's usually really good just like being on his own. Doesn't really care. He's fine to not have any
Mhm.
plans. But I was like, I called him and I just said, "Hey, like I'm thinking about going to Cece's for dinner. You want to join?" He was like, "Yeah, for sure." So it just started off like just kind of funny. We used to go a lot when I was little, and so it was just kind of nostalgic and all this stuff. But actually, while we're sitting in this booth at Cece's Pizza eating their cinnamon rolls or whatever, I just remember talking to him and being like, "This is really random, but I just had this like religious or like faith question that I've just been like thinking of a lot and now is a really random time to bring it up, but like I just wanted to talk to you about it and this is not why I asked if you wanted to go to
Yeah.
CC's, but like now's a great time because we're here together and
Mhm.
so I think that also just like I guess again that's just like making the most of every opportunity,
Yeah.
but um and then I also was thinking about extended family. I'm really close with both my grandmas and both of them live in Texas and it's just hard to make the weekend trip
Mhm.
when, I have other church commitments on Sundays or, just like different things. And it's
Yeah.
hard to like feel like you can get down there and spend quality time with them and then also be able to do all the things that you've committed yourself to doing.
Mhm.
But one of the best things is like my Mimi. I mean, you know her. But when we go down there, she's also very much a busybody.
Mhm.
And she loves gardening. She loves just being active, all this stuff. I hate doing that. I mean, I like gardening, but like if I have a choice, I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I also know that it's so meaningful to her. And
Mhm.
so I think a lot of times something that can be really beneficial for those relationships again is just that idea of like sacrificing your comfort and
Mhm.
sacrificing things that maybe you think you have to do or you're like rushing to do it or just things you want to do.
Mhm.
Sometimes like you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone
Mhm.
and you have to not be comfortable for an hour or a weekend or
Yeah.
whatever because those are the times that I'm going to remember
Mhm.
so much more. Like the time that we went out and planted onion seeds for 4 hours together. And it was like, did I have fun? No, but like did I get to spend time with her and really enjoy that with her? Like
Yeah.
yeah. And so I do think a lot of it is again making that decision to like sacrifice something that you normally wouldn't.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I don't
I agree. I don't have a lot of extended family, so my family's like pretty immediate.
know. Yeah.
So I haven't really I don't that's something that you have a take on that I
Yeah.
don't really have a take on. But And whenever I did have grandparents, they lived right here as well. So,
Right.
it's
Different.
never I've never really had that issue.
Yeah.
But I do have like friends that live far off and stuff.
Yeah.
But um well, honestly, I think that kind of sums up part 1. God and family, two of the most important relationships. One being more important than the other, but still two of the most important relationships to have in your family. And yeah, stay tuned next week for part 2, where we'll dive into friendships and romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.